Hello and welcome to the Fit Like a Girl podcast. My name is Jackie Lindahl. I am a mom of two, an avid coffee drinker, and a certified personal trainer. I have been in the fitness industry for nearly 10 years, and I help women get fit, strong, and lose weight without losing their damn minds. If you're looking for help on achieving your health, weight loss, and fitness goals without all the fitness industry confusion and BS, you have come to the right place. Hello and welcome back to the Fit Like a Girl podcast. My name is Jackie. Thank you for listening. So for today's podcast, I wanted to talk about, some questions that I've had recently that actually they've come up quite a few times. So I thought that I would talk about them. I also have a whole bunch of things for life update. So let's just get right into it. Life update things. I have a funny story, and I turned my life into a country song and got my truck stuck. So last week I had to go get hay for my horses. So when I do that, I take my horse trailer, it's empty, and I drive it to my parents' farm where my grandpa very graciously bailed me some square bales last year for feeding my four-legged freeloaders this year. So I went to the farm with my truck and trailer. It was blistering cold out because of course I had to do it when it was cold because I procrastinated when the weather was nice. And I thought, well, I still have lots of hay left. So what's the point in me going? I'll just go basically when I run out. So I did that, in the cold. It was unpleasant, but it's fine. It gives me a great workout, to be totally honest. It doesn't take me that long, maybe 25 minutes to load up the trailer with 50 some odd bales. If I'm feeling ambitious, I will also load some in the truck, but that day I was not feeling ambitious. So I just loaded up the trailer, got home, and basically my yard is not set up very well for driving a horse trailer or any kind of a trailer for that matter. A vehicle with a trailer into my yard and then being able to turn around, it's atrocious. We have a really small driveway, and then the shed in which I keep the hay in is kind of behind and to the left or the right of the house. So I have to basically back my trailer in down my driveway and then go to the side of my house and go all the way down this slope where the hay is. Now, it's been snowing a lot. I live in fucking Alberta here, and I did not have the foresight to use the snow blower to make myself a path for driving in and out with my truck and trailer. I thought for sure my truck would be able to get in and out just fine. It did not. I got myself backed in, not even really backed into where I wanted to go. I was probably about 5 feet off to the side, but it was good enough. And then I figured that I was stuck. And I had the trailer loaded and I thought, I should try to drive ahead a little bit just in case I am stuck. So I tried to drive ahead and no, tires were spinning. And I was like, you know what? It's probably just because the trailer is full and it's heavy and that's giving the truck a hard time. So I'll empty the trailer and see if that helps. So I did. I emptied the trailer and then tried to pull ahead again. No. And I'm of course, the kids are at daycare or / school. My husband's gone to work and I'm at home and I'm fuck, of course I got the truck stuck. So I tried for a little bit to get it out on my own because I was I got to get this truck out, especially before my husband gets home. Not that he would be pissed at me or anything, but honestly it's because he would just make fun of me and be I can't believe that you got the truck stuck in the yard. So I was I have to get this out so that he'll never know. I would have told him anyways, but I got myself stuck and of course I spun myself down onto the point where there was just my back tires were in a rut and it was just ice underneath. And I was oh, damn it. I am stuck. And the other thing about it is I was bringing one of my horses to the vets the next day, just for a routine thing. It wasn't a big deal, but I didn't want to have to cancel my appointment. And so I was shit, I need to get the trailer out today because it has to be out so that I can leave by 9:30 in the morning tomorrow to go to the vets. And it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I was shit. So I quickly texted my neighbor, who's my really good friend. And I was hey, are you guys home? And she's I am. What's the matter? And I was well, I'm an idiot. And I got my dumbass stuck with the truck and trailer. And I need to get it out for tomorrow because I have to take the horse to the vets and this whole thing. And she's oh, And I was like, but I also have to go pick up my kids from daycare. So she's like, okay, go get your kids and then text me when you're on your way back and we will meet you at the house. Her son thankfully has like a 1-ton diesel, which is quite a bit bigger than our truck. We just have a 1/2 ton. So they came over, and at first we were going to try to like disconnect. We were going to try to pull it out, but my truck doesn't have like a good spot to like, especially on the front end, to put chains or anything like that. And I was like, I am not messing up this truck because trucks are expensive and I do not want to have to replace this truck right now. And B, if anything were to happen to this truck, I'd be killed. Not literally, okay, it's not like that, but you know what I mean. I like to over exaggerate in case you've never noticed. Between her son and I, we were actually, and I had my neighbor get in the driver's seat and I was like, hey, we're just going to push this baby out. So between her son, who's like 18 years old, like, I mean, you know, he's a grown man, but, so between her son and I, we were able to actually like push it out, which was good. And I was like, woohoo, yay. Just putting it out there. That's why you strength train, okay? So that when you get your truck stuck and you want to get it out before your husband gets home, you can push your vehicle out with the help of course, you know, a whole other person. So anyways, yeah, so we got the truck out and then we just had to get my trailer out, which thankfully, like my neighbor's son was able to just like back his truck up. We hooked his truck up to my trailer and then his truck just easily pulled it out. So I was like, phew, but it was like an ordeal trying to get it out. And of course I had, in my mind, I was like, I have to get this truck out before my husband gets home. Like it must be out before my husband gets home. And it also like really must be out before, tomorrow morning so that I can get my horse to the vet. So anyways, that was my life as a country song. Truck got stuck, needed help from the neighbors, got the Dodge stuck and had to get the Ford to get the Dodge out. There's a Corblund song in there for sure. If you are not from Alberta or from Canada and you don't listen to Canadian country music, you should probably go on YouTube, by the way, and look up Corblund Truck Got Stuck. If you don't know that song, just go and look it up. It's a great song and it 100% was my life that day, trying to get everything out before my husband came home. Other things, I have started yet another hobby because I feel like I need more hobbies. I don't know what's wrong with me and I feel like I just need more hobbies in my life. So I started a sourdough journey. And there's a bit of a not really much of a backstory. Like I tried to make sourdough and stuff like that a couple of years ago. And I ended up just like failing and my sourdough starter went rotten and everything like that. But then for some odd reason, sourdough came up again on my TikTok feed. And then like both my sister-in-laws, they are like on their own sourdough journey and like rocking it and stuff. And like watching them, I'm like, damn it. I want to make sourdough now. And I've been making bread now for a couple of years where I try as best as I can to make like a loaf of bread every single week so that we can use it for our sandwiches and stuff. I just love homemade bread. If I don't have time to make bread, I will buy bread. It's fine. But I just love homemade bread. 100% love it. It kind of got me inspired to want to do sourdough. So I have now made 2 whole ass loaves of sourdough, both of them turning out well. I'm actually going to make a third one today because my starter looked like it was ready. The internet makes sourdough seem so freaking complicated. Every single TikTok video, it seems like this long, arduous process and this whole thing when it's I don't really feel like it needs to be that complicated. There's some people who really, truly overcomplicate it and it's a bit ridiculous. But then I found a few videos where there's people being like, hey, it doesn't need to be that complicated. Just follow these steps. And honestly, so far I'm 2 for 2 on my sourdough. So we'll see if I can keep that streak going. You never know. But this got me thinking about how I have way too many hobbies and I am never going to fully master any of them because I have way too many hobbies. I can't fully focus on just one thing. And this may be a sign that I have a little bit of ADHD. I don't actually really think so. it might be, but I think what it actually is just I have a lot of interests and things. So like I have my horses, and then I picked up playing guitar again, and now I'm making bread, and then I had my little woodworking journey. And then obviously with my work, I have a whole bunch of different things, like I'm doing the podcast and I have social media that I got to do. And then I got YouTube going on again and writing a blog and stuff. So it's just, I'm doing a lot of different things, but I'm actually really liking it because one, it's helping me with my goal for the year of less social media. So that's a good thing. Less scrolling, but also it's giving me kind of like, I don't know how to, I'm using my brain in different ways. I'm not just doing one thing, and I'm doing multiple different things, which is like helping my brain. The other thing that we're going to have going on right away is we are going to start working on our kitchen and getting that done. So that will of course overconsume me, which means that I'll probably have to take a step back from my sourdough journey and from playing guitar and stuff like that. But I really want to get that kitchen done. So yeah, I feel like I have a lot of hobbies and interests, which means that I'll never really fully master any of my hobbies and interests because, well, I just have too many hobbies and interests. And then, of course, gardening season's going to come up soon. So I have to get my seeds going right away because I am determined this year to not be late on starting my seeds. So in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have to start like my tomatoes and things like that and get my little grow up going on in my room again so that they are ready to go come kind of end of May when I actually plant my garden this year. So yeah, I just have a lot of hobbies and interests and a lot of different things that I want to do and just not enough time to master them all. So I'll just half-ass everything and hope for the best. One last thing. It was a topic that came up I saw on social media a few times. I swear I'm scrolling less, okay? I swear I am scrolling less. But when I am scrolling, I've noticed this topic come up on Threads a couple of times. The topic of married people and whether or not they should wear their wedding rings. So I've seen it a couple of times where people are like, the post was something like, married people, why aren't you wearing your wedding rings? And it kind of made me laugh a little bit because I feel like, I don't know why it's such a hot topic. Like definitely there are people who just like genuinely love wearing their wedding rings and things like that. And that's great. My husband and I don't. I used to wear my wedding band all the time. And then in all honesty, because of just like working out and like, especially in the summertime, working in the garden and that kind of thing, I just fell out of the habit of wearing it. And I kind of just stopped wearing it altogether. And then not only that, when I was pregnant with my girls, my rings stopped fitting me at some point during my pregnancy. So I just didn't wear them for a while. My husband never wears his because he's an electrician and gold, which is what his wedding band is made out of, is a conductor. Not only that, it's a safety issue. If you've ever looked up degloving fingers, it's a safety issue where you should not be wearing rings if you work in construction or anything like that, because you could potentially have an injury and get your finger degloved. So honestly, his wedding ring has sat in our jewelry box for years and has not moved because he just doesn't wear it. And I mean, I don't blame him. Like, I wouldn't either. There's no point to me in like wearing it for only a couple hours a day in the evening or on weekends. Like, just, I wouldn't bother either. But honestly, it was a hot debate in this Twitter thread about people getting like upset at married people who don't wear their wedding rings. And I don't get it. As somebody who doesn't wear her wedding ring, I don't get it. It's not that I never wear mine. I will wear mine out on date nights or like special occasions and that kind of thing. But on your average day to day, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm not wearing it. Yeah, I don't understand the big debate behind it and why it's such an issue, because in my humble ass opinion, a wedding ring doesn't make or break a good marriage, and wearing a wedding ring does not make or break the fact that somebody is going to cheat on somebody else. There are many married people who have cheated while wearing their wedding rings, and wearing a wedding ring doesn't exactly mean anything at that point, apparently. So that's my thoughts on it. It was just kind of a funny topic, and it was just kind of a topic that I saw, and it was a really big debate, and I didn't understand why, but I guess I don't wear my wedding ring, so it doesn't make me any less married. It doesn't mean that I don't love my husband or he doesn't love me. It just means that we just simply don't use a piece of jewelry every single day because we don't want to. And that's really as simple as that. Anyways, that was one that I was like, that's kind of silly. And I don't know why people get so up in arms about whether or not a married person does or doesn't wear a wedding ring. So I had a few questions recently that I thought would be great topics to come and talk about because they're questions that come up actually quite frequently. So we will get right into them. Question number one is, what is the best way to measure body fat? I'm going to kind of dive right into the whole body fat measuring topic in and of itself. And then I'll get into like different ways that you can measure body fat and what's really accurate versus what isn't. Along with this question, I will also get the question of like, oh, do you know your body fat percentage? What percentage of body fat are you? And the answer is I have no idea because I don't measure my body fat. It's not a metric that I truly care about. And there's a few different reasons for it. One, which I'll get into, there's not really any reliable at-home ways to measure your body fat. And not only that, again, it's just not a metric that I choose to care enough about. I would rather care more so about, how I look in the mirror and looking at the mirror at myself. Do I feel good about that? How do I feel in my clothes? Do I feel good about that? How is my weight maintaining where I want it to be? Are my workouts good? All of those other things to me mean so much more. And when it comes to my clients, honestly, I focus more so on those things than I care about their body fat percentage at all. And actually, I don't really have any clients that measure their body fat percentage, nor do I really care about that number. The other reason being, there's so many ways to quote unquote measure your body fat, and not really any of them are super accurate and should be taken with a big grain of salt. The worst of them would be your at-home scales that apparently measure your body fat by doing like an electrical impulse or whatever through your body to see the body fat versus fat mass and all that. Those are highly inaccurate and easily skewed, especially by water weight. So those I wouldn't even recommend anybody really bother with those because they just aren't accurate whatsoever. Really, the best ways to measure body fat would be like a DEXA scan, which you have to go and get one done at like a clinic. The other most accurate way to measure body fat would be like an autopsy. And I don't know about you, but I'm not ready for that. That would be the most accurate way of measuring body fat because then they can actually see the fat on your body while they do an autopsy and compare it to the amount of muscle mass that you have. So when it comes to measuring body fat, I don't generally worry too much about it because if you're looking for ways to measure your progress in your weight loss journey and you're wanting to focus on like fat loss, you can focus on how your clothes fit. Measurements is a big one. Progress photos is another big one because then you can visualize where you're losing body fat in inches from and maybe where you're seeing muscle mass gaining, so you can see those kinds of things. The scale can be helpful as a tool added to a bunch of other tools. So there's not just one way that you can measure progress, but in terms of measuring body fat, I usually tell my clients don't worry too much about it. The other way that some people will have their body fat measured is with like calipers, which is like these little like pinchy things, and it'll pinch parts of your skin and give an idea of your body fat percentage. I don't really like those either. I don't really think that they're not accurate. They aren't. And that's part of my biggest issue when it comes to measuring body fat is just there's no real accurate way of doing it. And you got to take the results with like a big grain of salt because they can easily be skewed by like, are you bloated? Did you have like more carbs and you're just storing more carbs in your body than you were? And that's adding water weight. Like it's just not the most accurate thing. So I don't usually tell people to worry too much about it, but I would say probably like if you're alive, the most accurate way would be a DEXA scan. But even that, I would take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, it's just not a metric that I really honestly care too much about. I would so much rather somebody focus on something else than their body fat percentage specifically. So the other question that I had come up recently. So over the past couple of weeks, I changed the time of day that I'm doing my workouts. And a couple people asked me why. I changed my workout time to earlier in the mornings before my kids get up. And somebody was asking me, oh, why'd you make that change? So there's a few reasons why I made that change. And I'm honestly really liking it. So what I used to do was I used to get up, take my kids to daycare/school, come home, have breakfast, do my workout. Then I would start my workday. The main thing that I'm finding is that as I'm getting busier with all my hobbies and interests and with doing my work and wanting to get back into doing YouTube, podcast, writing, all that kind of thing, is that I needed more time in my day to get those things done and not feel like I'm rushing or having to work in the evenings all the time. Because that was what I was finding, is I was having to work like evenings all the time, which isn't the worst thing in the world. And I'm happy to work evenings just to get things done, but I didn't want to have to do that all the time. So that's when I was kind of like, okay, I feel like I need to start doing my workouts a little bit earlier. The other thing I've been finding is that last year, I talked about this before with my 250 workout goal for the year. Last year, I found that I wasn't as consistent with my workouts as I could have been. And part of the reason for that is if I had something going on in the day, I would easily push my workout off. I would push it off. Or if a client needed to do a call during the time that I normally do my workouts, I would be more likely to just push my workout off to quote unquote the next day. And then I kept doing that. So I wasn't being as consistent with my workouts, and I really want to hit this goal for the year and stay more consistent with my workouts. So I figured that the best way to actually do that is get my workouts done as early as I possibly can. Then it's done and there's no excuses to not do it. So I'm not getting up insanely early or anything like that. Like I drive my kids to daycare and school. So it's not like they have to get on the bus super early or anything like that. So I'm getting up at like 6:30, getting my workout done probably in about 45 minutes, and then waking my girls up and getting my day started from there. Then when I get home, I can get right into work. Like I can just immediately start doing work. And I'm really liking that right now. That's kind of the main reason why, is I just wanted more time back in my day and I want to stay more consistent. So for me, the earlier I get them done, and in all honesty, this kind of goes for most people. Of course, there are exceptions. Not everybody can get up early in the morning to get their workouts done, especially shift working people, especially parents with young kids who are not sleeping. Like not everybody is able to do it. But on average, the earlier that people can get their workouts done, the better, because they're less likely to want to push them off. It's the first thing done for the day. You can check it off your list. You don't have to think about it for the rest of the day. And then if you're doing them later in the day, as the day goes on and as you get tired and your motivation starts to wane or things come up, you're more likely to push them off. So that's where for me, doing them earlier in the day is better. And I've known this about myself for freaking 10 years since I started working out. I knew that getting them done earlier in the day for me is better. And I spent quite a few years actually like getting up really early at like 4:45 and going to the gym and stuff before work when I was a vet tech. And that was the time of day that I had to do my workouts. I had to do it before I got to work because I was always busy in the evenings and I had stuff going on and I didn't have time to get my strength training workouts in. So that was the best time for me to do it. And I'm just kind of reverting back to that because I've always known that getting them done early in the morning for me is best. And as soon as the clock strikes 12 o'clock, the chances of me getting my workout in are just dramatically lower than they were at earlier in the day. So that's why I'm doing them early in the morning, so that I can be more consistent and see the results that I'm wanting to see by being more consistent with my workouts. The last topic that I wanted to talk about today is about creatine, because I've been getting a lot of questions on creatine lately. So let's talk about it. So let's talk about, first off, what is creatine, and then we can get into like whether or not somebody should be using it. So it's a compound that your body can naturally make, and it's made up of different amino acids. And it helps with providing energy to your muscles, and also has been shown to have some effects on like brain health as well as heart health and stuff like that. So it is a really, really well-researched compound and supplement. So creatine can come from protein, and also there are supplements for creatine. And of course, it's being talked about a lot lately, and a lot of research is going into creatine. And I get asked all the time, like, should I be having creatine or adding creatine to my routine? And I have a bit of a multifactorial answer. In terms of supplements, I always kind of bash supplements and how supplements are shit and all that kind of stuff. If you've listened to my podcast for any length of time, you've heard me say that. Creatine is one of the ones I would have an exception to this rule, in that it is a well-researched supplement. It has shown to have a multitude of benefits, especially those who are wanting to build muscle mass, and there's even more studies coming out with the effects on brain and cognitive health as well as heart health. It is a well-researched supplement with a lot of good science backing it. As far as if somebody wants to add creatine to their routine, I'm kind of indifferent, or I'm, pretty much all for it, with a few exceptions. If you are not already strength training, hitting your protein goals regularly, getting enough recovery, sleep, daily steps, all those kinds of things, I wouldn't jump to adding creatine. Creatine is not going to be the magical elixir that suddenly fixes your fat loss struggles or helps you gain a bunch of muscle or anything like that. It is a supplement that is to be added to already a good exercise, nutrition, workout routine. I usually tell my clients who come to me and they ask me, should I be adding creatine? I usually tell them, look, it's not going to be the magic fixer. You need to still be on top of your nutrition goals. You need to be getting in your protein intake that you're supposed to be getting. You need to be strength training, and you need to be consistent as fuck. And if you're not doing any of those things yet, adding creatine is going to do essentially sweet fuck all. But if you have been consistent with your workouts for a while, you're getting in a good amount of protein, and you are on top of your sleep and recovery and daily steps, sure, adding in creatine could definitely be helpful. But again, it's not magic. It's not magic. A lot of people think it is. It has a lot of benefits, and it can really help, especially people who want to gain a good amount of muscle mass or maintain muscle mass, or they're wanting to get stronger. Yes, it can absolutely help, but you also have to have those other factors going on. Really, and first, and be in a good routine with that, and be really consistent with those other things first before adding in creatine. Yeah, it's not magic. It is legit. It does have legit science behind it. So as far as supplements go, there's nothing wrong with adding it, but you also have to be on top of all those other things so that it can have the best effects for your goals. So that's my thoughts on creatine, and whether or not you should take it is really up to you, but you just have to take a look at your consistency with your nutrition and your exercise and your workouts and stuff like that overall, and then evaluate whether or not it might be worth adding in creatine to help you with your fat loss or your muscle gain goals. If you found this podcast helpful, I would love and appreciate a 5-star written review. It just helps increase visibility of my podcast so that I can help other people just like you. If you haven't already, feel free to head over to Instagram and give me a follow there. That's my main social media page and the one that I post on the most. So if you're wanting to keep up with me, definitely be sure to head to the link in the show description and you can find me over on Instagram. If you had questions about my training programs and options, be sure to head to my website. I will also post the link for that in the show notes. And lastly, again, I just want to say thank you so much for listening, and I will chat with you next time.